The message arrived without warning. High Chancellor Varick didn't knock. He didn't send word ahead. He simply appeared at the threshold of Alira's home, flanked by silent guards, his expression carved from stone. That was the moment she knew. "Alira Venn," he said, voice low, formal. "There has been an incident." Her fingers tightened around the cup in her hand. It slipped, shattering against the polished floor. She didn't look down. "No," she whispered. The Chancellor hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. But it was enough. "Your daughter, Commander Lyra Venn, was declared missing after the final assault on Carthos Ridge. Missing. Not dead. But not alive either." Alira's breath came sharp, uneven. "Missing means alive," she said quickly. "You wouldn't be here like this if she were alive." The Chancellor said nothing, and silence, she realized, was worse than any answer. "The battlefield was unstable," he continued. "A collapse during the final strike. Recovery teams were unable to retrieve all personnel. Her knees nearly gave out. No body," she murmured. "No confirmation." "We are honoring her as fallen," he replied. "Honoring." A word used when hope was no longer allowed. The funeral was held 3 days later. 1,000 voices filled the Hall of Remembrance, echoing off towering stone pillars etched with the names of the dead. Banners of the Venn lineage hung high, their silver crest gleaming under cold lights. Lyra's name was already carved. Too soon. Far too soon. Alira stood at the center, dressed in ceremonial black, her hands clasped so tightly they had gone numb. Around her, officials spoke of bravery, sacrifice, honor. Words. Just words. "She gave everything for the Empire," one general declared. Alira's jaw tightened. "You don't know that," she wanted to scream. "You weren't there. No one was. They had lost contact. That was all. A transmission cut short. A battlefield swallowed in fire and dust. And yet they stood here, declaring her daughter gone. A sealed casket rested before her. Empty. That was the cruelest part. There was nothing inside. No body. No proof. Just a symbol. Something to bury so the living could move on. But Alira couldn't move on. Not when every instinct inside her screamed that something was wrong. That night she didn't sleep. She sat in Lyra's old quarters, surrounded by relics of a life that had ended too abruptly. Uniforms neatly folded, medals polished, a datapad left charging beside the bed. Everything was exactly as Lyra had left it, as if she might walk back in at any moment. Alira picked up the datapad, her fingers trembling as she activated it. The last recorded message flickered to life, fragmented, distorted. Static crackled. Then Lyra's voice. "Not alone. Repeat, I am not alone." The recording cut. Alira froze. Not alone. Her heart pounded. What did that mean? Who had been with her? The official reports said nothing about survivors. No allies. No rescue attempts. Just a failed mission and a lost commander. But that message. It didn't sound like someone who had accepted death. It sounded like someone who had found something. Or someone. The next morning, Alira marched into the War Council chambers unannounced. "I want the full report," she demanded. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. "You've already been given." "Everything," she snapped. "Every transmission. Every scan. Every detail from Carthos Ridge." A long silence followed. Finally, one of the analysts stepped forward, hesitating. "There was one anomaly." Elira's pulse quickened. "Show me." A holographic display flickered to life. The battlefield appeared, charred, broken, lifeless. And then, a flicker, a movement. Something, someone, walking through the wreckage. The image blurred, distorted by interference. But the silhouette was unmistakable. Humanoid. Not one of theirs. Elira stared at it, her breath catching. "What is that?" she whispered. The analyst swallowed. "We don't know." Another officer spoke, quieter. The signal disappeared shortly after that. "We assumed it was debris interference." But Elira shook her head slowly. "No," she said. Her voice steadied. "That's not debris." She stepped closer to the projection, eyes locked on the lone figure moving through the ruins. "That is someone walking out of a battlefield that killed my daughter." A cold realization settled over the room. "If that's true," the Chancellor said carefully, "then whoever, or whatever that is," Elira didn't let him finish, "might be the last one who saw her alive. And for the first time since the funeral, hope returned. The footage shouldn't have existed. That's what they kept telling her." "It's interference," one analyst insisted, replaying the clip for the third time. "Residual heat distortions, broken signal patterns. Your mind is filling in the gaps." Elira didn't blink. "Then explain the gate." The room fell quiet. She stepped closer to the projection, pointing at the moving figure. "That is not random distortion. That is controlled movement. Balanced. Deliberate." No one argued. Because they couldn't. The figure walked upright, steady, unaffected by the chaos around it. While the battlefield burned, while wreckage collapsed and fires raged, it moved like none of it mattered. Like it belonged there. "Enhance it," Elira ordered. The image sharpened, barely. Still grainy. Still unstable. But clearer. 2 arms. 2 legs. A silhouette unmistakably human. Except, "There are no human forces deployed on Cartho's Ridge," the Chancellor said. "Then someone didn't update your reports," Elira replied coldly. Hours later, she stood alone in the observation deck, staring out at the endless stretch of stars. Somewhere out there was Cartho's Ridge. Somewhere out there, her daughter might still be alive. Footsteps echoed behind her. "I had a feeling you'd be here." Elira didn't turn. "You came to tell me to let it go." The Chancellor sighed. "I came to tell you the truth." That made her look. His expression had changed. Less rigid. Less official. More uncertain. "There have been whispers," he admitted. "Unconfirmed reports. Stories from outer sectors." Elira's heart skipped. What kind of stories? He hesitated. About humans. The word hung in the air. Heavy. Impossible. "Humans are a myth," Elira said automatically. "Were," the Chancellor corrected. Her breath caught. For decades, they were dismissed as folklore, a species that vanished before we ever reached the stars. But recently, he paused, there have been encounters. With what? He met her eyes. Survivors. The room felt smaller, colder. "What does that have to do with my daughter?" she asked. "Everything," he said quietly, "because every report says the same thing." Elira stepped closer. "Say it." "They appear where no one else can survive." A chill ran down her spine. "They walk through war zones, through radiation storms, through environments that kill even our strongest soldiers." Her mind flashed back to the footage. The lone figure, walking, unaffected. And when they leave, the Chancellor continued, they're not always alone. Elira's pulse thundered. You're saying— I'm saying, he interrupted, that if a human was on Carthos Ridge, then your daughter might not have died there. Hope surged. Dangerous. Overwhelming. But why wouldn't they report it? She demanded. Why wouldn't they bring her back? The Chancellor's expression darkened. Because no one knows what humans want. Silence settled between them. Elira turned back to the stars, her thoughts racing. If it was true, if a human had been there, then Lyra's last message made sense. I am not alone. Not fear. Not panic. Something else. Something almost like relief. I'm going, Elira said suddenly. The Chancellor stiffened. That's not possible. I don't care what's possible. Carthos Ridge is still unstable. The Council has already sealed the sector. Then unseal it. Elira. She turned, eyes blazing. That was my daughter. The words cut deeper than any argument. For a moment, the Chancellor said nothing. Then, quietly, if you go, you won't be going as a mother. Elira frowned. What does that mean? It means, he said, you'll be going into something we don't understand. And if humans are involved. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Elira straightened. I don't need to understand them, she said. I just need to find her. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of their sensors, something was already watching. Carthos Ridge was still burning. Even from orbit, the scars were visible. Vast stretches of blackened earth, fractured terrain, and lingering pockets of heat that shimmered like open wounds across the planet's surface. Elira's shuttle descended anyway. Turbulence increasing, the pilot warned. Radiation levels are still above safe thresholds. Land, Elira said. The pilot hesitated. Commander. I said land. The engines roared louder as the shuttle pushed through the unstable atmosphere. Firestorms twisted below, licking at the sky like they refused to die. This was where Lyra had vanished, where they said she died. Elira gripped the harness tightly, her eyes locked on the devastation beneath them. If her daughter had survived this, then she wasn't just strong. She was fighting. The shuttle touched down hard. Dust and ash exploded outward, coating the viewport in grey. We can't stay long, the pilot said. Hull integrity won't hold under prolonged exposure. I won't be long, Elira replied, already unfastening her restraints. You don't know that. She paused for only a second. No, she admitted. But I'm going anyway. The hatch opened. Heat slammed into her instantly. Even through the protective suit, it was suffocating, thick, choking, alive. The ground beneath her boots cracked with every step, unstable and brittle. This place wasn't just destroyed. It was angry. Elira moved forward, guided only by the coordinates from the final transmission. The wind howled, carrying ash and fragments of debris that scraped against her suit like claws. Every instinct told her to turn back. But she didn't. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. Then, her scanner beeped. Elira froze. A signal. Weak. Flickering. But there. Her breath caught as she adjusted the settings, narrowing the search. Come on, she whispered. The signal pulsed again. Closer. She followed it across a ridge of shattered stone, her boots slipping against unstable ground. The air grew hotter, the radiation warnings sharper. Then she saw it. A structure, or what was left of one. Half buried beneath collapsed rock and scorched metal, it barely stood against the destruction around it. And inside, movement. Elira's heart slammed against her ribs. "Lyra," she called, her voice echoing through the calm. No response. She stepped closer, carefully navigating the debris. "Lyra, if you can hear me." A sound interrupted her. Not her daughter's voice. Something else. A low, steady rhythm. Breathing. Elira's hand moved to the weapon at her side. Slowly, cautiously, she entered the structure. The interior was darker, shielded from the worst of the fires outside. Smoke hung thick in the air, swirling with every movement. And then she saw him. At first, her mind refused to understand what she was looking at. The figure sat against the far wall, partially obscured by shadow. His head was lowered, his body still, one arm resting loosely across his knee. For a moment, she thought he was dead. Then he moved. Elira's breath caught. He lifted his head slowly, as if the motion itself required effort. His face came into view, sharp features, pale skin streaked with dirt and ash, dark hair matted from sweat. His eyes met hers, and everything stopped. They weren't like hers, not in color, not in shape, but in something deeper. There was no fear in them, no confusion, just awareness. "You're not one of them," he said. His voice was rough, strained, but clear. Elira's grip tightened on her weapon. "Who are you?" He studied her for a moment before answering. "Human." The word sent a jolt through her. Real, not myth, not rumor, standing right in front of her. "Where is my daughter?" Elira demanded, stepping forward. "Commander Lyra Venn. She was here. She sent a transmission." "I know who she is," he interrupted. Her heart stopped. "Then where is she?" Her voice cracked despite her effort to stay steady. The human didn't answer immediately. Instead, he shifted slightly, wincing as he moved. "Injured. Badly." "She's alive," he said finally. The world tilted. Elira staggered forward. "Take me to her." "I can't." The words hit like a blow. "What do you mean you can't?" "She's not here." Rage flared. "You expect me to believe that?" she snapped. "You just said she's alive." "She is." "Then where is she?" The human met her gaze, unflinching. "Somewhere safe." Elira's hands trembled. "You're lying." "I'm not." "Then prove it." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then, slowly, the human reached into his jacket. Elira raised her weapon instantly. "Don't." "I'm not going to hurt you," he said calmly. Something in his voice made her hesitate. "Just enough." He pulled out a small object. A device. Damaged. Burned. But intact. Elira stared at it. Recognition hit instantly. "No," she whispered. It was Lyra's. Her personal comm unit. The one she never went anywhere without. Elira's knees nearly gave out. "Where did you get that?" she asked, her voice barely audible. The human looked down at the device, then back at her. "I took it off her," he said. A pause. "After I pulled her out of the fire." Everything went silent. "You." Elira swallowed hard. "You were the one in the footage." He didn't deny it. "You walked through that," she said, disbelief creeping into her voice. "Through all of it." A faint, tired smirk touched his lips. "Yeah," he said. I did. Elira stared at him, at the man who had walked through hell itself, and come back with her daughter. Take me to her, she said again, softer this time. The human's expression changed. Not refusal, not resistance, something else. You don't understand, he said quietly. Elira's chest tightened. Then make me understand. A long silence followed. Then, you're not ready for where she is. And for the first time since she arrived, Elira felt fear. Elira didn't like fear. It was unfamiliar, unwelcome, and right now, it was growing. You don't get to decide that, she said sharply, forcing the feeling down. You don't get to tell me I'm not ready to see my own daughter. The human didn't react. He just watched her. Calm. Too calm. You think this is about permission? He asked quietly. Elira stepped closer, anger rising again. I think you're hiding something. Of course I am. The blunt honesty caught her off guard. What? You wouldn't believe me if I didn't. Silence stretched between them. Outside, the world still burned. The distant roar of collapsing terrain echoed like thunder, reminding them both that this place was temporary, unstable, running out of time. Elira took a breath, steadying herself. Start talking, she said. Now. The human shifted again, clearly in pain, but he pushed through it. Your daughter didn't just survive that battle. I know that, Elira snapped. You pulled her out. No, he said, shaking his head slightly. I got her through it. Something about the way he said it made her pause. Through, she repeated. He nodded. She should have died. Multiple times. Collapse, heat bursts, radiation spikes. Your people aren't built for that kind of environment. And yet she lived. Barely. Elira clenched her fists. Then stop speaking in circles and tell me where she is. The human looked toward the broken entrance of the structure, as if checking the horizon. Then back at her. There's a boundary, he said. Elira frowned. A boundary of what? He hesitated. Of survival. That didn't help. Explain. You've seen this place, he said, gesturing weakly around them. What it does. What it becomes when war goes too far. Elira glanced at the scorched walls, the unstable ceiling, the air itself shimmering with heat. Yes. Now imagine something worse. Her stomach tightened. Worse than this. He met her eyes. Much worse. The words settled heavily. There are places, he continued, where even this would be considered safe. That's not possible. That's what your people think. Elira shook her head. And you're saying you took her to one of these places? I didn't take her, he corrected. I brought her to the edge. Her patience was wearing thin. And then what? She demanded. The human leaned his head back against the wall, exhaling slowly. And then, he said, she made a choice. Elira's breath hitched. What kind of choice? His gaze sharpened slightly. The kind you can't undo. A cold weight settled in her chest. No, she said immediately. No, she wouldn't leave. Not without contacting us. Not without. She tried. Elira froze. What? She tried to send a signal, he said. That's probably the one you found. But the deeper you go, he trailed off. The deeper you go, what? The less your world can hear you. Her mind raced. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to, he replied. It just has to be real. Elira paced a few steps, trying to process everything. "This is insane," she muttered. "You're telling me my daughter walked into some kind of impossible zone? A place no one survives. Not no one." She stopped, slowly turned. "You." He didn't smile this time. "That's where humans go, isn't it?" she said. A quiet realization forming. Places no one else can survive. He didn't deny it. "Why?" she asked. "Why would anyone choose that?" For the first time, something shifted in his expression. Not pain, not exhaustion, something deeper. "Because sometimes," he said quietly, "what's waiting on the other side matters more than staying safe." Elira's throat tightened. "That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got." Another tremor shook the structure. Dust rained down from above. Time was running out. Elira stepped forward again. "Take me there." The human closed his eyes briefly. "I can't." Her anger flared again. "You said that already. And I meant it. Because I'm not ready," she snapped. His eyes opened. And this time, there was something unmistakable in them. Concern. "No," he said. "Because you won't survive the first 10 minutes." The words hit harder than anything else he'd said. Not dramatic. Not exaggerated. Just certain. Elira swallowed. And she did. A faint, almost disbelieving breath left him. "Yeah," he said. "She did." Silence fell again. Heavy. Unavoidable. What did she choose? Elira asked finally, her voice quieter now. The human studied her for a long moment, as if weighing something. Then he spoke. She chose to keep going. Elira felt something crack inside her. "She chose not to come back," she whispered. He didn't answer. But he didn't need to. Another tremor shook the ground, stronger this time. A loud crack split through the structure above them. The human grimaced, trying to push himself up. "We're out of time." Elira grabbed his arm instinctively. "You're not going anywhere until you take me to her." He looked at her hand, then at her. "You really want to see where she went?" "Yes." No hesitation. No doubt. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he nodded. "All right," he said. And for the first time, his calm expression broke. "But if you come with me." He met her eyes. "You don't get to turn back." Outside, the fires of Carthos Ridge began to rise again, as if something deeper beneath the planet had just awakened. The ground split open as they ran. Carthos Ridge was collapsing in on itself, again. But this time, it wasn't just the aftermath of war. It was something deeper, something waking up. "Move!" the human shouted, his earlier exhaustion gone, replaced with sharp, focused urgency. Elira kept pace beside him, her breath coming fast inside her suit. The terrain ahead fractured with every step, glowing cracks spreading like veins of fire beneath the surface. "This way," he called, veering toward a jagged drop in the ridge. Elira didn't question it. She followed. They reached the edge. And Elira froze. Below them was not destruction. Not entirely. It was something else. A massive chasm carved deep into the planet's surface, its walls glowing faintly, not from fire, but from something almost alive. Energy pulsed through it. Steady. Rhythmic. Like a heartbeat. "What is this?" Elira whispered. The human stepped beside her. "This," he said quietly, "is the boundary." Her chest tightened. "This is where she went." He nodded. Elira stared down into the depths. Every instinct screamed at her to step back, to run, to survive. Instead, she stepped forward. "I'm going," she said. The human grabbed her arm. "Wait." She turned, anger flashing. "You said you'd take me." "I said I'd bring you here," he corrected. "What happens next is up to you." Elira looked back at the chasm, at the impossible energy moving beneath it, at the place her daughter had chosen over safety. "What is it?" she asked. "Evolution," he said simply. The word hit her harder than she expected. "Your people fight to survive," he continued, "to protect what you already are." He glanced at the chasm. "Humans, we cross lines." Elira's pulse pounded. "And Lyra?" His voice softened. She didn't hesitate. That hurt. And somehow, it also made sense. Lyra had always been like that. Always the one who ran toward danger, who pushed further, who refused to accept limits. Elira took another step closer to the edge. "Lyra!" she shouted into the abyss. Her voice echoed, swallowed by the glowing depths. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the light shifted. The pulsing energy below surged, growing brighter, stronger. Elira's breath caught. "Do you see that?" she whispered. The human nodded. "She hears you." The ground trembled again, but not violently this time. Controlled, focused. And then, something moved. A shape, rising. Elira's heart nearly stopped. "No," she breathed. The figure emerged slowly from the glowing depths, walking, just like in the footage. But this time, Elira could see clearly. It was Lyra, and it wasn't. Her daughter stood at the edge of the chasm, the light bending around her like it recognized her. Her armor was gone, replaced by something unfamiliar, sleek, shifting, almost part of her. Her eyes, they glowed faintly. But her face, it was still her. "Mother!" The voice was the same. And not layered, stronger. Elira stumbled forward. "Lyra, what did they do to you?" Lyra tilted her head slightly. "They didn't do anything," she said calmly. "I chose this." Elira shook her head, tears blurring her vision. "You don't understand. This isn't you." "It is," Lyra interrupted gently. "More than it ever was." The human stepped back silently, watching. "You were supposed to come home," Elira whispered. Lyra's expression softened. "I did." She stepped closer, the energy around her dimming slightly, as if making it easier for Elira to see her, to recognize her. "I saw what was beyond the boundary," Lyra said. "What we could become." She met her mother's eyes. "And I couldn't walk away from that." Elira's hands trembled. "You chose this over us?" Lyra didn't hesitate. "I chose a future where us survives." Silence. Heavy. Painful. "They're coming," Lyra continued quietly. "Worse things than this war. Worse than anything we've faced." Her glowing gaze shifted briefly toward the horizon. "And we're not ready." Elira's chest tightened. "But you will be?" she asked. Lyra nodded. "I will." A long pause followed. Then, Elira stepped forward and pulled her into an embrace. For a moment, just a moment, Lyra felt like her daughter again. Then the energy flared softly around them. "I can't stay," Lyra said. Elira closed her eyes. "I know." She pulled back slowly. studied her daughter's face, memorizing it. "Will I see you again?" she asked. Lyra smiled faintly. "Yes." A pause. "But next time." Her glowing eyes held something powerful, something unmistakable. "I won't be the one who needs saving." Elira let out a shaky breath. Behind her, the human spoke quietly. "That's what we do." Elira glanced back at him. "What?" He gave a small, tired smile. "We find the ones who can survive the impossible." He looked at Lyra. "And we show them where to go next." The light surged again. And then Lyra stepped back into it. Gone. The chasm dimmed. The energy faded. And the world grew quiet. Elira stood there for a long time, staring into the place where her daughter had vanished. She had come looking for someone to bring home. Instead, she had found something far greater, something human, and something beyond it. Far above, the stars burned silently, and for the first time, Elira understood. The war hadn't taken her daughter. It had transformed her, and somewhere out there, when the next darkness came, humanity wouldn't stand alone.